Call to order.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
All present.
We have a moment of silence. Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Benson, any agenda changes or additions?
No, sir.
You? Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as it has been presented this evening.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We need a motion to certify matters discussed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we certify personal matters discussed in closed session tonight, section 2.2-3711A1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Painter.
No.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Abstain.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now we need a motion on the matters that we discussed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve matters discussed in closed session referring to discussion pertaining to the discussion and consideration or interviews of prospective candidates for school board employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Goodler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
No.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we have a special recognition. Mr. Benson?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the school board. We consider ourselves fortunate enough to be here tonight in person and to secondly celebrate one of our own. During the 2019-20 school year, one of our teachers was recognized as the Shenandoah Valley Soil and Water Conservation Teacher of the Year. And unfortunately, due to the coronavirus pandemic, we weren't able to come together in person and allow guests to celebrate that accomplishment. So we do have a guest here this evening, and we wanted to be able to publicly acknowledge our Teacher of the Year and give her a few minutes if that's okay.
Thank you. My name is Megan Dalton. I'm the district manager at the Shenandoah Valley Soil and Water Conservation District office. We're located in Harrisonburg. The Soil and Water Conservation District is a political subdivision of the state of Virginia. And we're most well known for implementing conservation programs with farmers and other efforts as they relate to improvement of our local water quality and beyond. However, in addition, we do a lot of work with your teachers and with your local community, educating them about the importance of conservation. And we also support teachers' efforts with meaningful watershed education experiences, which I know you guys know a lot about MeWe's. And we serve both Rockingham and Page County, as well as the city of Harrisonburg. We are supported mostly with state funds. However, we do rely on funding from localities such as Page County and the towns therein. Annually, the district does recognize conservation teachers with 2 awards. We award this honor in 2 categories, K through 5th grade and 6th through 12th grade. Nomination information is distributed to your school officials, principals, teachers, curriculum leaders, etc. And as Mr. Benson said, due to COVID, unfortunately, we weren't able to come to present our 2020 award. So I am here this evening to present the 2020 6th through 12th grade Conservation Education Teacher of the Year. Chris, come on up. The award is being presented to Chris Riley. Mr. Riley has been an educator for 22 years, about to start his 23rd year, ladies and gentlemen. And he currently teaches 6th grade science at Luray Middle School. Mr. Riley has found many ways to incorporate conservation into his curriculum. He emphasizes the importance of conservation through multiple units he teaches. He focuses on watersheds. Do you know your watershed address? Land management, best management practices for protecting natural resources, as well as renewable and non-renewable energy. He takes his students to Hawksbill Creek to perform water quality sampling. While at the creek, the students also learn about macroinvertebrates, the little critters that live in the bottom of the stream, and the importance of their health to the ecosystem. Mr. Riley is one of the lead teachers for the Creekers Club, which they continue to complete water quality sampling in Hawksbill Creek outside of the normal school day. Chris has his students write letters, oftentimes to very important people, expressing their thoughts and concerns about renewable and non-renewable energy. Ultimately, he wants to encourage the students to take advantage of the opportunity to engage these influential people outside of their school, hoping to elicit change, or at least get their brain thinking. He encourages his students to recycle and clean up litter, not only around the schoolyard, but on their field trips to the creek. He has involved them with hands-on activities, including composting and the maintenance of the school flower beds. I bet those janitors really appreciate that. He works with many outside groups and organizations, including our office, the Department of Environmental Quality, the Friends of the Shenandoah River, the Shenandoah National Park, and others, to bring his students opportunities and experiences to learn more about natural resources and the protection of those resources. Chris enjoys learning, and he is a Japan Fulbright Memorial Fund Fellow and feels that hands-on learning is an important component of his students' learning. He says, "We can learn so much outside of the walls of our classroom." Chris has served as a science department head for Luray Middle School, and he has also held the role of teacher ranger within the Shenandoah National Park. Mr. Riley also likes to practice what he preaches on his 120-acre farm where he raises crops, livestock, and seasonal vegetables. And he's able to experience the importance of conservation and natural resource firsthand on his own land. It is because of his dedication and commitment to conservation education and the commitment to engage his students in the protection of our natural resources that the Shenandoah Valley Soil and Water Conservation District is excited and pleased to recognize Mr. Riley with the 2020 Conservation Education Teacher of the Year Award for 6th through 12th grade. Congratulations, Chris. Thanks for all you did. And Chris is also receiving some other goodies, including a $100 gift certificate, so he can buy some educational resources at one of our favorite places, Acorn Naturalist. So keep up the good work, Chris. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to be here. I look forward to coming back again and recognizing one of your hardworking teachers. So keep the nominations coming. If we can support Page County in any way, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the citizen comment, is it the pleasure of the board that I go out and tell everyone that they'll have 3 minutes and that we cannot reply back to them, so they understand that don't expect an answer back to us, but we do hear and listen to them, just so they understand that they're not pausing to wait on us to answer a question.
3 minutes especially. It's important for you to say that.
Is that fine with the rest of you? Okay. And you have them in the order that they signed up?
Maybe do them like a
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to tell you our views. I have been a citizen of Page County since 1984. So 40-some years, I'm one of you. I do speak with an accent. Do you guys understand me?
Yes,
All right, wonderful. My name is Patricia Long. I live in Highway 211, passing the Shenandoah National Park on the Brookside area. My children, I have 3 beautiful daughters. They went to Springfield Elementary. Later on, they went to Luray High School. Now I have 4 beautiful granddaughters. Kids have come and gone, but like my husband and I, we chose, when it was time to raise our children, we chose to come back home. That's because Luray has always been a safe haven for families, for our conservative values, for what is important for us, where we feel safe. We really don't want that to be taken away from us. Today, I wrote an email. It wasn't, I don't think it went into the comments, but it was just very simple, which I like to read it to you guys, if you allow me to. It says, with the regards to the transgender policies trying to be implemented in our region, I would like you to know that I formally and strongly oppose to this new and immoral turn of events. It is the job of the parents to raise their children in the best way they know how, and the extreme liberal views will only damage future generations. I firmly oppose to the integration of any changes related to gender issues in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Long.
Thank you.
Yeah, she'll send that next.
Sending them down. Who's down
Pam.
there? Oh,
Ms. Burton.
Dan Ellis. My name is Dan Ellis. At 200 Starview Lane in Rileyville, Virginia. And I have 2 children in the school system as of this fall. And I just want to thank you, board and administrators, for what you do. And I just want to let you know that we are for you. You have a hard job, and we appreciate you. On the road where we live, 340, there's a lot of accidents. And you hope that you can see an accident before it occurs so that you can get on the brakes. And I believe there's a collision ahead due to this new model policy, and we need to pump the brakes. I believe that each of you has received something from the Family Foundation. I read the same thing. It's about 4 pages, and it makes plain the wreckage of this new policy. And as it does, it argues that it's broken the law in 8 different areas. And I just want to mention 3 areas that I find compelling. It violates parental rights. This policy permits schools to hide info from parents. I believe in school that we teach kids to have character and that character matters. And so I don't believe we should tell any child to keep anything from their parents, nor should we ask any teacher to unlawfully deceive a parent. It tramples religious liberty, and the model policy compels students and teachers to be indoctrinated in controversial ideology that all faith traditions oppose. It violates privacy rights. This model policy allows students' gender identity to fluctuate from day to day, and based on that daily fluctuation, they can use any bathroom that they need to, that they feel like they need to, or locker room. And it also keeps staff from being able to question students' choice of a bathroom. And I just want to say that I'm far less concerned about our students that do identify as transgendered, and more concerned about the knucklehead kids that decide they're going to take advantage of this policy. In conclusion, I think we need to protect intersex students and those dealing with gender dysphoria from any harassment or bullying. I guess what I'm encouraging us towards is let's not, as we strain out the gnat, swallow the camel. Strain out the gnat of bullying in order to swallow the camel of an oppressive ideology that destroys religious liberty, parental rights, and indoctrinates our students and teachers and causes further confusion during a time where, quite frankly, there's already a lot of confusion. Our kids cannot afford for us to be asleep behind the wheel. We need to pay attention to the wreck that is coming. So I would encourage you during this time to not even put this model policy into your legal references or to adopt any other policies from it, but to pump the brakes and avoid the collision and to give time for some litigation that is coming against the Virginia Department of Education to play out. And so in the meantime, I think it would be wise to think about our bathrooms and how we can restructure those areas.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you so much.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do y'all need this before I speak?
No.
Okay.
Just tell us your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Pam Lawson. Address is 2656 Fleaburg Road, Shenandoah, Virginia. Is that all you need? The school board that was held on June 14th, they kind of outlined the transgender policy for our kids. I heard very few questions. I did hear a few. Every time I watch it, I get mad. I hear very few questions for parents to understand how this is going to be implemented. I did hear one school member who said their child hadn't used the restroom in public school in 13 years. So that's what we ask our children to do. Just don't use the restroom. I also heard them say, take it to the governor. I get it. I understand. But the law that was passed still gives you all the right to set some kind of guidance. Give the parents a seat at the table for this. We can work this out. If you're for it or you're against it, parents need to have a seat at the table. Stop the board meetings in this trailer and let us have a voice. So I'm going to ask, and I know you can't answer, when the petition went around for Mr. Northam not to pass this law, you could oppose or you could be for. There's approximately 239 teachers the last time I checked. The school board members are here. I understand that a lot of you probably didn't sign it and you can't. I know you're gag ordered not to speak, and that's fine. But I know a lot of Page County parents did. So I've spoke to the school system. They've sent letters home wanting to know what my child's identity needs to be or what pronoun she prefers. I've spoke to Mr. Benson. I spoke to Mr. Moran. I spoke to Mr. Kale. I spoke to the vice principal. Matter of fact, me and Mr. Moran went round and round on this. I am asking, and I'm actually putting a letter in my daughter's file. You cannot indoctrinate my child, okay? And I know that teachers can't speak out, but if you're for this, you can. You have a teacher in Page County High School right now who has on their social media, Christians, Republicans, conservatives are Nazis. They also have two men kissing, saying this is the real Proud Boys. Is that okay? Is that not indoctrinating our children to see? So, I just want to say this and then I'll be done. My child will not participate in the proper names and identities. If Michael wants to be Michelle or...
Ms. Lawson, I'm sorry your time is up.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We'll see you on the next school board meeting.
Thank you. Three minutes does go by fast. Alrighty. Hello, state your name and address.
Jane Eppert, 2863 Eppard Lane, Elkton, Virginia. I have to wonder how many people that are teachers, board members, and staff can honestly say they're okay with girls and boys using the same bathrooms and possibly the same locker rooms. How many can't express their feelings because they fear losing their jobs? Well, I have no fear of that. My fear is what will become of our youth in the future if all this nonsense continues. I am the mother of a now grown son and a grown daughter. I have grandkids in school. When my son and daughter were little and they became of a certain age, they didn't go in the same bathroom together. I didn't walk in on my son when he was big enough to bathe himself. Where has modesty went? I know without a doubt no boys belong in girls' restrooms or locker rooms, and no girls belong in boys' restrooms or locker rooms. If you're confused, if you are a girl or boy, then go to simple biology class. God made two sexes, male and female. Man made the rest. If this practice goes forward, there will be a rise in teen pregnancies. I know there will. I know personally of a 13-year-old girl who, at the end of the school year, dressed as a boy and met a boy in the boys' restroom for what they called a sneaky link. If you don't know what a sneaky link is, you might want to look it up, but it results in pregnancy. What about a sexual assault charge that could happen because somebody is where they don't belong? This is one huge can of worms that is being opened. The lid better be put back on it before all destruction breaks loose. We were told it doesn't do any good to voice our concerns here, but we had to start somewhere. I assure you, we would voice these concerns to Ralph Northam also, but him and his minority of supporters could care less about Virginia or our people. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to start off first handing these or giving these to whoever. This is from people in my church that could not come tonight but wanted their voice heard.
Okay, first state your name and then your address.
I forget everybody usually knows. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amy Curtis, and I'm going to start first by saying what my bias is. I am a Bible-believing Christian, and I serve the Almighty God. I am a former teacher with Page County Public School System. Although this is the first time that I have addressed the school board regarding this transgender legislation and the critical race theory, in February of this year, I began reaching out to the Virginia Department of Education through their virtual town hall meetings. I sent a letter about my concerns of this new legislation, along with ideas on how I felt they could implement new policies that did not infringe upon the rights of those who disagree. I am willing to speak with any of you personally on this matter, but today I want to leave you with questions that I have for you as a school board who was elected by the people of Page County to protect the education and safety of all the students of Page County. As we all know, what goes in our eyes and in our ears affects our minds. If our children are being taught things that go against our community's traditional Christian values, what are we as parents left to do? Why does the majority of your constituents have to change for a handful of individuals? Is the comfort of a few more important than the comfort of the majority? Will this not cause more division in your school system? I understand that this is new legislation, it is a law, and that you feel we need to obey, that there is nothing else that you can do about it. I would like to know, what did you do to try to stop it in the first place? As an elected board, what are you willing to do to stand up for the majority of your constituents? Are you willing to take this to the court system if the majority wants that? In your last meeting, it was stated that we need to be sensitive to the students that support the new legislation. I absolutely agree that this is a sensitive matter, but how will you be sensitive to both sides if you are forcing the majority to adhere to the laws that blatantly go against their Christian values? By doing this, you are leaving parents like myself no option but to pull our children from Page County Public Schools with religious exemptions. I also understand that you are afraid of losing funding from the state. Will you not also lose funding when parents pull their children from your school system for religious exemption? Is it worth it to you to lose these children from your school system? Because it is worth it to parents like myself who want to ensure that our children maintain the Christian morals and values that we have taught them. These questions can be applied to both the new transgender legislation and to the critical race theory curriculum that is being pushed on school systems today. As I stated in the beginning, what goes in our eyes and our ears affects our minds. What happens in our school systems will eventually affect your community.
Ms. Curtis, your time's up, unfortunately. And could you state your address for the record?
Oh, 799 Back Road, Shenandoah. I have a copy for each of you
Just leave it right
so
there.
that you can have
Yeah.
it. Take home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Curtis.
My name is Jack Supples.
Wait. Stand at the podium.
Okay.
Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jack Supples. I live at 589 Fleaburg Road, Shenandoah, Virginia. And I'm here to protest what's going on because I feel that this board didn't resist sending back to the state and getting the change that you sold our children's souls for a dollar bill. Most of y'all claim to be Christians. And how can you sit here and agree with it, and even a minister, and send it back and not send it back and not protest it because it's our children, it's my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. And how can you do that? That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hi.
So, state your name and address.
Sherree Estep, 8230 US Highway 340, Shenandoah, Virginia.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm speaking on my behalf as well as I've been asked to speak for Mary Queen, but I've timed both speeches and I'm under 3 minutes. My name is Sherree Estep. I'm a former employee of the Page County school system. I invested 16 years in this school system. I'm here to voice my concern regarding how the equity for transgender students will be addressed, as well as to state that I'm opposed to the implementation of critical race theory curriculum in our schools. It is likely that you sat in a church service yesterday. Some of you have held or currently hold positions in your respective churches. You have been or currently are deacons, board members, youth leaders, Sunday school teachers, and even pastors. Therefore, I wish to address you not in your secondary role as a school board member, but rather in your primary role, that of professing and practicing Christians. It gives me hope to know that I am addressing fellow Christians. You're about to make decisions that will have an everlasting effect on our children, our schools, and our community. I urge you to make those decisions based on biblical principles that we know to be true. It will take great courage on your part. However, if you do not make decisions that are in line with the Word of God, the damage you do to the children of this community will be minor compared to the damage you will do to the kingdom of God. Do not profess God on Sunday morning and deny Him when you make decisions on Monday night. I know it will be difficult. Ephesians 6:12 states, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness in this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Be courageous in your decision making. Do not let our children down. Our community will support you. I've also been asked by Mary Queen, a retired teacher in this county, to speak on her behalf. And this is her letter. To the school board and fellow citizens of Page County, has the Page School Board received complaints that transgender students have not been treated fairly? If yes, how many? How many students go to the Page County schools? I've frequently substituted at Page County High School these past few years and did not personally observe any mistreatment of our transgender students. The board has a responsibility to protect the freedom of speech and freedom of religion of all teachers, students, and parents. How are you going to do this if students are required to violate what they have been taught at home? That would be a direct assault on parents' rights to direct the upbringing of their children. If parents see their rights being denied and then remove their children from the public school system, you will lose federal funds. A lawsuit has been filed challenging the recent guidelines passed down from the Virginia Department of Education. We strongly urge the Page County Board to reject the proposed model policy of the Virginia Department of Education and instead appoint a committee of Page County residents to study how best to protect our transgender students and all other students. Before you implement a policy, consider this analogy. Cement is liquid when poured, but after it sets, it's very difficult to make changes. Mrs. Queen also asked me if I would leave these, it's about the lawsuit in the county, so I'm going to leave those for you.
You can leave it right there. Thank you, Ms. Estep.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. State your name and address.
Yes,
please.
sir. I'm Mike Nichols. My address is 470 Circle View Drive, Luray, Virginia. And I'm speaking on behalf of the citizens of Page County that support the school system with our taxes. So, as a Christ follower, I definitely don't feel it's right to show any kind of hatred or violence toward those who are struggling with gender dysphoria. Totally against that. Don't believe in that. But at the same time, I believe that genuine love for my neighbor doesn't compel me to unreservedly support any decision that's primarily rooted in one's own personal feelings, especially when those feelings many times arise from a place of hurt or confusion. And it's my understanding that the Virginia Code 22.123.3 is already listed in the legal references of the board's non-discrimination policy. And if that's the case, I assume that then means is the board adopting the entirety of the VDOE's model policies for the treatment of transgender students. And if that's the case, I have to express my concern that doing so, I believe, is a serious overreach of this board's commitment to provide a quality education for the students of our county. And with this, you're delving more into the realm of political ideology and using our precious children as guinea pigs for a social experiment not grounded in sound scientific research and common sense. And as an example, I want to quote to you from the American College of Pediatricians, the myth about suicide and gender dysphoric children. This is an article that you can find. And it says this: the most up-to-date research shows the effectiveness of psychotherapy for resolving gender dysphoria in children and adolescents. A 2019 study confirms the findings of 16 studies dated 1969 to 2012, all showing that psychotherapy can be highly effective in treating underlying causes of gender incongruence, and such that trans-identifying patients embrace their biological sex. And their conclusion from that document was this: state laws should encourage the use of psychotherapy to help young people explore and resolve the underlying causes of the psychological rejection of their body and avoid a lifetime of expensive, radical, painful, sterilizing, dangerous, and potentially deadly interventions. And so my question for this board: are you truly helping? Or are you hurting a kid by allowing them to live and affirm as another gender? What convinces you that adopting the Department of Education's model policies is truly what is best for these students that struggle with gender dysphoria? And I recognize you're in a hard place, but this is your decision to adopt these policies for our county. It's your decision. It's not the state's decision. It's your decision. I talked to a licensed behavioral therapist today with one of our local community health networks, and I was told this: in general, what I've found is this: secular research is presented in such a way that validates these changes.
Mr. Nichols, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
Okay, thank you so much for listening, and I'll be praying for you guys.
Thank you. Me or you? Okay. When I went out there, they were all nice and portable. So it's good.
Good evening.
Hello. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jane Judy. I live at 270 Kaufman's Mill Road, Luray.
Thank you.
And I'm a tax-paying resident of Page County since 1972. I live in District 4, and I consider it a pleasure to be a friend with Mr. Painter. Your task is not an enviable one. Today is in no other time. We are bombarded with opinions, ideas, questionable, factual information. A world of newly coined words and abbreviations that have turned conventional thinking upside down. For instance, we have new definitions of marriage, family. Don't we all desire, yes, plead for clarity, clear, understandable communication that is foundational or human interaction. Words matter because they convey entire concepts from our hearts and minds. They are the tools with which we communicate and seek to understand each other. People who have chosen to be educators want students to develop their full potential as productive individuals. They teach basic skills, encouraging students to utilize their God-given talents to contribute to overall betterment of society and themselves. Parents, educators, and self-discipline all contribute to an environment for accumulation of knowledge, which is good. However, we all desire with knowledge there be wisdom. I truly believe a truly wise person, values and treasures godly wisdom. And as a result, wisdom is knowing the right thing, doing the right thing, doing it in the right way, at the right time, and to the right extent. This wisdom not only involves knowing what is right, but also having an understanding of what is wrong. I understand you all have the benefit of legal counsel to help you navigate these troubled waters to set policy for Page County schools. I encourage you to wisely consider doing the right thing for confused and troubled students, to choose wisely for the mental and physical health of all students, and wisely set a path for Page County schools. For Page County schools, first and foremost, to be known as a school system that upholds Judeo-Christian values that have served to secure sound thinking, develop strong convictions of right and wrong, and a genuine concern for life, for liberty, and the pursuit of excellence for all people.
Thank you, Ms. Judy.
Thank you.
Hello. State your name and address, please.
My name is Bonnie Snyder, and I live on 312 2nd Street in Luray. I wanted you to know that I am not in favor of this transgender legislation and the critical race theory curriculum. I do not accept the policy that has been rendered from the Virginia Department of Education. This new transgender policy, in my opinion, is not well thought out and is not widely accepted. I believe Target's corporate policy of allowing men in the women's bathrooms and dressing rooms is a dangerous policy, and I view the policy out of Richmond coming into our school system as a policy that endangers the most vulnerable among us, our children. The guidelines for biological sex identification, which is biological birth as a boy or biological birth as a girl, are more easily put into place, understood, and monitored. This new policy is going to be nearly impossible to apply in practicality. I do not accept this policy as written, and I hope that this school board and each member will not rubber stamp it. Teachers and students with this policy will find themselves constantly behind the 8 ball, trying to determine what road to take in speech and in action. I do not wish for students and faculty to be embroiled in constant disciplinary action, but save the school for educating our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. So, please state your name and address.
My name is Carolyn Jenkins, and I live at 1776 Comertown Road. I'm a Christian, which unfortunately means nothing because we will never have anything passed based on my curriculum of beliefs. I'm also a taxpayer and a registered voter in Page County, and I would like to make it known that I'm against the transgender legislation and the critical race theory being implemented in our school system. The school system is taking away the responsibility and the duty of the parent to raise their child and to keep them safe. As long as these policies stand and schools continue to push boundaries, the school system has failed my child.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Hello.
Hello.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Samantha Jenkins, and I'm from Shenandoah, Virginia, 1075 Comertown Road.
Thank you.
Okay. I have 4 grandchildren that should be attending Shenandoah Elementary in the fall. I'm very saddened about the new policies being implemented. I am a Christian, and it is against my belief. And I don't think that young developing minds who are in school 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, need to have that input into them. It's hard enough to mature and develop in a normal society. Biologically born girls have different issues and needs than non-biologically born girls, and they should not be sharing the same bathroom. It's hard enough to mature and go through puberty without having to think that there are other sexes coming into the bathroom, regardless of what they identify as. You're either XX or XY. We are going to hurt our children psychologically. We're gonna have problems that we haven't even thought of. And I think I love my community and I want my children to go to public school, my grandchildren, but I don't think that's gonna be possible. I think we're gonna have to pull our children from public school and not homeschool, but we want Christian exemption because we're not gonna fund the new curriculum. Just because it's a law doesn't mean it's right. We all have to meet our Lord one day, and what are we going to say was our excuse for letting this happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Hello. Please state your name and address.
Amanda Hammer, 291 Hillbilly Lane, Shenandoah. I come here this evening not alone, but with all these fellow citizens backing me. Parents, grandparents, family members, former students, neighbors, all concerned citizens. When researching the meaning of school board, I found school board members are locally elected public officials entrusted with governing a community's public schools. The role of the school board is to ensure that school districts are responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of their community. That is why I am here. Y'all keep saying these new policies are coming from the Virginia Board of Education, and while we understand that, I also know this board, all of you, are elected to represent us, the Page County majority, including students, parents, faculty, and community. I truly believe you all are failing us. I myself have made multiple phone calls and emails since March when this was passed, may I add, to multiple board members and only received a response from 2 of you. And I will change it because one lady did contact me today and I greatly appreciate that. One was helpful and one just said what I already knew, or he would respond continuously with, "We are waiting direction from our new superintendent." You all need to listen to the concerns and answer questions truthfully. There are many parents, including myself, who do not stand for these new policies surrounding bathrooms or sexual education. Our kids do not need to be taught, especially at school. These indoctrinations, along with critical race theories, will only widen the divide. I really want y'all to be thinking, if you have kids or grandkids in school, how would you feel? Or how do you feel about this? We currently have around 400 signatures on a petition opposing this, and the numbers are rising. A lot of times we don't get the chance to make a right decision the second time around. It is important that we make the right decision now. We will not get another chance. What are you going to do? What is your choice? And are you going to help us? That's why we're here tonight. We're not here to bash y'all. We're here seeking help as where do we go next?
Thank you, Mrs. Hammer. Hello, please state your name and address.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is, can you hear? William Anderson, 1050 Crooked Run Road, Shenandoah, Virginia. And I come before you this evening to voice my firm opposition to the Virginia Statute 22.1-23.3 and the special school policy that this law wishes to impose. First and foremost, why is this statute necessary? Rights are already identified with the Virginia Human Rights Act 2.2-3900, which states to safeguard all individuals within the Commonwealth from unlawful discrimination because of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, pregnancy, childbirth, age, marital status, sexual orientation, and gender identity, veteran status, disabilities, in places of public accommodations, including educational institutions, so forth. This law is later amended as April 2020, but the main body and context remains the same. Discrimination, for whatever reason, is unlawful. So why was Statute 22.1-23.3 required? Page County, to the very best of my knowledge, has not discriminated against any individual for any reason. Access to the educational facilities has been, continues to be open and available to all individuals regardless. I am positive this non-discrimination policy shall continue. So again, why was 22.1-23.3 statute necessary? I believe the statute was passed and implemented to identify those individuals as special interest individuals. These individuals are not satisfied with existing laws and regulations. They feel they are special individuals and require special treatment. I disagree. They exist within this community just as the rest of us. That just because they are confused regarding their own identity does not mean that I or the society must coddle them or provide them with special accommodations. Equal protection under the law means exactly that. Equal protection. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing special. Statute 22.1-23.3 also requires the State Board of Education to develop a special policy for the needs of these special individuals. This law also requires each county to implement a similar policy. Again, I ask you, why? Why is this necessary? This county already affirms and commits to a non-discrimination policy. So why should it be necessary to develop a special policy regarding those individuals who may be confused or searching some form of a gender identity? Again, I emphasize this was accomplished to provide special considerations for a very select few individuals. And this, in and of itself, is discrimination. What of those individuals who are not
Anderson,
already?
your time is up. It does go by fast.
It does go by. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I wish a pot of water would go that fast. Hello, please state your name and address.
My name is David Jenkins. I live at 1075 Colmertown Road, Shenandoah, Virginia. I'm here because I'm against the policies that are trying to be implemented into our school systems. Letting you know that I don't, there's some things that's taught in schools, there's some things that should be taught at home. And I think we're crossing boundaries, and it does make it difficult as a parent to try to discipline your child when a teacher or a school is teaching them something different. I'm a God-fearing man, I'm a Christian, and this is against our beliefs, y'all. It's y'all's job, I'm not blaming y'all, it's y'all's job to either send this back or to do something, or I'm coming to you and asking you, what else can we do? Because this, if it starts today with this, what's it gonna be tomorrow? I've coached kids in Little League and in softball, both boys and girls. You can't put all the kids out there and hit them all fly balls because all of them don't have the same abilities. And you have to address those abilities individually. And the same way with the problems with our kids in our schools, whether it be transgender or whatever, we need to deal with them on a one-to-one basis. Give those kids the help they need because they do need help. And I'm not for turning any of that away. But I don't think it's right for us to change the policies for everybody else within the school system for a few. I'm not saying that we turn our backs to them. By all means, we do not. They're first and foremost as far as I'm concerned. But you keep your beliefs and you keep the things that kept this country going today. You keep that going. You don't just stop and do what somebody else thinks is right. It's y'all's job to do that. I wish y'all all the luck in the world because it's a hard job, but I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Hello.
Hello. Please state your name and address.
My name is Carolyn Ryan, 199 Autumn Lane in Shenandoah, Virginia. I didn't come prepared to speak, but I do want to say that I am a resident of Page County. I'm against the transgender legislation and the critical race theory curriculum. And I just want to say, honestly, the Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? The soul of this nation and this county are at stake. And please make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Hello. Please state your name and address.
My name is June Doval, Grindstone Mountain, Shenandoah, Virginia. And I also come unprepared, even though I know some of you all very unprepared, but I wanted to speak from the heart and get my message across. I am a registered voter and a taxpayer here in Page County. I would like to make it known that I am against the policies of the transgender legislation and the critical race theory. I have done my research on the critical race theory, and if you read that actually seems to be a little racist itself. So I do not agree with that. That is something that should not be taught to any of our students, young or old. With the bathroom issues, I would like to keep in mind that you guys to keep in mind as you vote on this that boys will be boys and girls will be girls. Even though it sounds like everybody can get along and be good, we all know that that's not the case. Like I said, boys will be boys and girls will be girls. So please keep that in mind when y'all vote on this. They say to start small. We have called our congressmen and our legislators, and they repeatedly say start small at the school board. So that's what myself and all of the people that spoke today has done. We would like to thank you all for your time and effort, for hearing our voice. We will continue to keep y'all and ourselves and our children in our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Doble. Mrs. Painter, Dr. Painter, I'm sorry. After public comment, we'll need a recess.
Yes, that'd be great.
What's his words I use?
You move to a 10-minute recess. Hello. Please state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Brian Hassey, address 2150 Valleyburg Road in Luray, Virginia.
Thank you.
Start? Okay. My name is Brian, and my family and I have lived here in Luray now for 4.5 years. I serve as the pastor at Mount Carmel. In 2019, my wife and I decided to enroll our son Trevor in Luray High School, believing God called us to send our son to be a light for Christ and for his kingdom. This past year, we enrolled my daughter Trinity as a sophomore in Luray. As I am left now to ponder the safety of my daughter and all of our daughters, as boys will be allowed to use girls' bathrooms, undress in girls' locker rooms, and join girls' sports teams, possibly, the easiest thing for my wife and I to do would be to remove our daughter from Luray and return to the safe haven of a Christian school. And I will, if that's how God leads. But regardless of that decision, here's what I would love to share with you. First of all, to be reminded, parents have been given the responsibility to raise their children, not school teachers, not school administrators, not school boards. Part of this proposal implies that parents don't know what is best for their children and cannot be trusted to help guide their children. It seems that school policymakers have forgotten that schools were created to educate children and strengthen families, and have instead decided they're places to indoctrinate children and divide families. The school is not a greater institution than the family. In the days of creation, God started a family, not a school. Secondly, when everyone is right, there is no longer a standard for truth. Once we decide to use one's subjective feelings as a standard of truth for all, there ceases to be a standard at all. This is why history and biology books today are being rewritten. But the fact of the matter is that truth has been removed decades ago, replaced time and time again with new truth. Give it time, what you're calling truth today will be replaced with new truth in the decades to come, because only the truth of God never changes. But schools have rejected that long ago. Finally, we must protect our most valuable treasures and their future. When the Second Amendment was threatened in the state of Virginia last year, the town hall of Luray was completely filled to overflowing into the streets with people who said, "You cannot take my guns." And this town, in defiance of an order being handed down by state government, declared itself to be a sanctuary city for the Second Amendment. Are we a town that will rise up to protect our guns, but not our girls? This needs to become a sanctuary county for truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Please state your name and your address.
Michelle Long, 220 Cabin View Drive, Stanley. I'm too not prepared for this, but I thought, hey, I was the only Stanley person, and I wanted to step up and because I too, just in a short couple days, took the petition around and had numerous grandparents, parents, willing to do whatever it takes. They were against this. And so, I just come to you to say, that you guys, I realize that, it's definitely state, but as our board members, you represent us parents, but most importantly, you represent our children. And, they are very precious to each and every one of us. I have two, one in middle school and one in high school. And, my big concern, and I heard that yesterday a lot, was, how do you protect them when they are in the bathroom? Girls maybe accusing boys of, and vice versa. I mean, this opens so many windows to trouble and a lot of problems. And I mean, it's a lot. And I mean, I know you guys are going to do your best to represent our children. And that's my hope, like I said. And it's lots more of people that feel the same way that all of us here do. So, I'm sure they'll be back next month if need be, but that's all I have. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I move that we take a short recess.
Stay how long?
5 minutes. 5 minutes, 10 minutes? 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, I have a motion to take a recess.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Call us back to order. Okay, for those who are watching and thinking about the comments that's submitted online, we as a board do have those. They will be put into our record for the meeting minutes, so the board will have access to those and will read those. Just in the infants of time, we'll move on with the rest of our business, but I do want you to know that will be part of our record as part of the minutes, and you can go back and verify that for yourself when those minutes are approved. Okay, so we'll move on with the next item, and that's approval of the May minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the May minutes?
I make a motion to approve the May 2021 minutes.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Breeden?
Were those changes made? Yes. Okay, we'll move on to, oh, yeah. Just for some reason, I thought he was city mayor. I should have told you when we went on recess to come back, but. Could you check the AC? I think it's hot. Do y'all think it's hot in here?
Feel good. I could use a little bit more cool, but I'm okay.
I was hot myself, but.
Right, me.
Good evening, Mr. Bell.
Good evening.
Mr. Bell, VSBA policy updates.
Yes, board members, I'm here before you for the second of two informational items related to policy updates. I will do my best to answer any questions that you all may have.
And then the same ones that Mr. Moran presented to us at the last.
And none of these are the transgender stuff, correct?
There is nothing in these policy updates that relates to anything specific with those.
Okay.
They're just updating current policy. It does have the code at the bottom that was referenced, but that's the only thing. It doesn't list any of our personal policies as far as how to handle going to the bathroom, monitoring, and all that stuff.
Correct.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
You're welcome.
On to updates on COVID funds, Mr. Benson.
Good evening, board members. Given everybody an attachment or a single sheet in front of you to kind of reference. As we have responded to the COVID pandemic, the school division has received different pots of money, so to speak. And so I just thought it was important in working with Mr. Breeden to make all of you aware of what those different pots of money are and some of the ideas that we have for that. I think it should be noted, I don't think there's anything on the front page that should be of any surprise to any of you. Those are things that we saw along the way. Obviously, the COVID/CARES money helped us increase our one-to-one initiative tremendously and helped us provide a safe learning environment for students, whether it was we were buying cleaning or disinfection materials, whether or not we were putting dividers up in our classrooms or stocking our nurses' stations with different items. We did help ourselves a little bit with transportation needs as well. The back is where we start to think about some of the other different pots of money. In our first round of COVID funds, we were able to purchase Promethean panels. We purchased 40 panels and implemented those last spring, and were very well received. So we are looking to make that purchase for every classroom using the ESSER 2 funds. We have supported summer school. I know when we initially discussed summer school, we noted the fact that summer school funding is based upon what you did the previous year. We hadn't done anything the previous year because of the pandemic. So this pot of money has allowed us to have students. Believe it or not, we've actually finished last week. We finished our first session, 11 days at the middle school and high school. And we've begun to make some grade changes based upon that. And I think we're going to have some graduates. And so we're going to need a summer graduation. So we've been able to put that forward. As discussed by the board, hopefully we'll be able to provide hazard pay for some of our employees with those funds. And then improving our facilities. We've seen a capital improvement plan that had some items there that we know are beyond their regular life, so to speak, in terms of our heating and cooling. And as part of this money, we can improve air quality when you go through a pandemic like we've gone through. So we hope to be able to do that. It should be noted for the board this evening that as you spend one pot of money and exhaust those funds, then you're able to access the next pot of money. So we are kind of finishing that first round of funds, and now we're starting to think about the other sources that are available. So be happy to answer any questions. We are thinking about, on the sheet that you provided, we're thinking about ESSER 2 at this point. ESSER 3 is the next source there, and so that simply is just some brainstormed ideas for the board to be considering. We certainly will want to make Dr. Fox aware of all of these ideas. And I think it also should be noted when you think about some of these, there are stipulations and requirements that go along. So there are things that you can buy and things that you can't buy. But with that final funding source, the American Rescue Plan, we wanted to note 20% of that money has to go towards learning loss as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. Tell me about the outdoor furniture.
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
So one of the things that we've done at some of our schools is instead of having, I'll just use Lorraine Middle School as an example. Students went outside for as weather permitting, but it turned out to be a fairly good, weather-wise. We had students that were eating outside and doing that. And that would allow us to do some of the social distancing that was required. It got outside.
So picnic tables.
Picnic tables and
like
those
that.
sorts of things. That's what we're considering. Okay. The problem we have is with the current furniture that we have, we were moving tables inside and out every single day. So you can think about the long cafeteria tables
and that
going in and out of those doors every single day.
That could be a lot of wear and tear.
It certainly was. So we would like to get something that was just a little bit more permanent. We also saw classroom teachers trying to take advantage of some of the outdoor spaces to get outside as we encourage them to, on a nice day to get outside with their classes. We don't really have appropriate spaces at some of our schools to be able to do that. So that was
Like
just
an outside classroom.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Payne?
All right. So lucky for y'all, this is my new job. So who in Page sat in on these ESSER 3, all the pandemic relief program webinars last week?
So, Mr. Van Wyk has been doing most of that up until recently, and then I have the webinar links and that sort of thing to review. Again, as Mr. Benson said, these are just our plans. None of this has been, set in stone. Obviously, we're waiting for Dr. Fox to begin her term with us to go over a lot of this. But again, as you know, ESSER 3 is good until 2024.
Yeah, and they can
So-
all three be spent concurrently, so you don't have to use all of one pot now before you move on to the next.
Okay, so then that just must have recently changed
They
because
had
we
a
were just
lot of
told
information last week.
Okay.
And I had 8 days of this. But yeah, they said they can be spent concurrently. Because, we got a lot of things that can be fixed now using these ESSER 3 funds. You can replace windows and doors. And I would hate to, I'm looking at the list and I'm thinking, you know, a greenhouse at LMS, is that gonna really affect everybody? Which goes to my point that with these funds, you have to have public input. That's part of your application. So at what point are we gonna do that? Because you have to have proof that you got public input as part of the
My
application.
understanding is the ESER 2 application has already been completed and submitted.
No,
and
the
I'm not
ESER
sure.
3.
Right, so and that's not due until September.
But I just want to make sure that we know that we have to get public input on this of how it's best to be used. Because how much is Paige getting? 5 or 6 million? Yeah, it's a lot of money. So I would want a lot of,
Do a lot of 6 million.
yeah, you can do a lot. So anyway, but there was over 100 people in the webinars and I couldn't find anybody from Paige. I'm like, this is really important stuff that someone's missing. So, but I think they're recorded.
They are. I have the link to the recording.
We do still plan to follow the by policy, the purchasing that normally would occur. So you will still see purchase orders and things for anything on the list as we request those items.
And as you had said, these are just brainstorm ideas.
Right.
It's nothing concrete. It's just,
No.
it's on the board that's in the superintendent's outer office. And
Yeah, but before I took these things, they could have told me that we were going to buy a snow cone machine, and I would probably like, okay.
Yeah,
Let's get a snow cone machine.
so this is
The one item that we have for this evening on the POs over 10,000 is going to be the Promethean panels because we do want to be ready for the beginning of the school year. And we want to try to have that technology in place. We want to do the professional development this summer that's required. And,
that's the ESER 2 one,
but that is as part of ESER 2.
not the one that we had to have parent input on.
Correct.
All right, can you use any of this money? This is something I had been asking and carrying on about before I ever came on board. To put some kind of shelter at Springfield School where those students have to wait for the parents that's coming around getting their kids. They're standing out in the weather.
Shenandoah as well, right? Shenandoah Elementary as well.
I mean, I've asked about this for years, and I keep saying we'll work on it, we'll work on it.
Why are they standing outside in the weather?
Well, they gotta come out of school and cross the private driveway and come over to a parking lot. And then these cars is lined up picking kids up. So how many you done bring, one at a time?
That's what we did at Luray Elementary, and it worked great. We knew who the parents were coming, and we called back
Well,
and
you
had
got
the
two
city-
lines up down there at Springfield
Yeah,
coming around. So now, can you look at that car and say what kid goes in it?
surprisingly, a lot of
Yes.
people at Luray Elementary knew.
Maybe some
And-
of them do after time.
And they're on the phone, and they're on the walkie-talkie saying, "I need so and so, I need so and so," and they'll come to the door, and then when their car
But
pulls
while
up,
you're doing that, you're holding up traffic too.
no, the
Yes,
kids
it
are
is.
already out there and they're going. So when the kids at the door, they're prompted to go out. And now nice weather, they're just flowing
These
out.
kids have a little further to walk though than they do at the Gray Elementary.
Okay, well, something like
And I
that could be
still
looked
say
at.
we need a shelter down there for it.
I think it'd be better managed by doing it a different way, perhaps. But
Well, some way or another.
yeah,
They could come from the public comment.
And all you need is a carport. How much is that?
that's something we can probably look into if those funds can be used for something like
We
that.
have, we do receive every year requests from the sheriff's department because that traffic does back right up out on the highway, and that's a problem.
It does.
Yeah. So I think that the goal tonight was to begin some discussion. And, these funds have been coming in and we haven't had this conversation with the board. So
We appreciate this.
trying to, just have some initial thoughts to get board members' opinions as well, because I don't know of another opportunity that you've had prior to this.
Well, I'm
So-
not saying anything against Bob Hager, but they had a carport they had taken down some. They made it over at that building. And I kept saying, why can't we put that down? It was traded to the sheriff's department or something.
But Mr. Benson can share this with Dr. Fox, and we have, as a board, we have time where this money has to be spent anyway, so we can make sure
Well,
that,
I don't want to see it wasted years again.
well, no, we don't have years, I mean, so we'll get with Dr. Fox when she comes on board and has all that, she'll come up with a plan and she'll present how that money, and then getting parent input in. So it won't drop off the radar.
It was a SOUPS memo on June 11th that stated they could be spent concurrently.
Mr. Lansbury, we have tried to find things that are non-reoccurring expenses, try to find one-time expenditures that like we've discussed here this evening. This is a source of money that we might not never see again in any of our lifetimes. So we want to put some things in place that are going to be here to make some facility improvements and improve our classroom environments and technology in our school division. So certainly I've got that on the list, and we look forward to working with Dr. Fox
to got a new sidewalk in down there.
Sure, right.
And I'll say, this is something that we have looked at as far as with the CIP plan that we have. What can we purchase that's in that plan that covers the next 10 years using these funds that then allow our local funds to be freed up to maybe use the local funds to do something like that if it doesn't fall under the stipulations of the grant.
Yeah. Well, I was even told that one superintendent will let the PTA or whatever it is now take care of it.
So hopefully as we move forward, we can complete some of those projects. And like I said, that'll allow for other projects also to be completed, Mr. Lansbury.
As you as a board see purchase orders over 10,000 and you've been do your due diligence and question the funding sources, we didn't want that to be a surprise when you guys look at it and see, okay, some of the items that we have on the list are from COVID funds. So we wanted that there be some transparency there as to what are some of the things that we've done, and then begin thinking about what are some of the other brainstorms, things that are that have been brainstormed.
I think we need to send some more money to the bus garage too. I was told they can't even buy a bill to put on lawnmower.
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but we did purchase a lawnmower last week, brand new mower, and we bought an engine replacement for another lawnmower.
Yeah, I know that.
So,
but then they brought one in there today and they couldn't even buy belts to put on. Said that he was told not to spend money.
Well, that's because we're at the end of the.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not sure where that came from because I didn't know anything about that.
If you got a budget for something, just like in the bus garage, what's inside that budget? Why can't we buy it? Where's the budget?
Not sure who
told
someone
that,
they
but-
couldn't buy anything.
But I do know there's at this time of year things are stopped being purchased so you don't roll over and overspend. Now, it doesn't mean after July 1 that won't happen, because the new money can be spent July 1. So maybe whoever told him that, whoever it was,
was being careful.
Was, yes, being prudent. But so after that, then maybe they need to make sure they get in touch with the new superintendent and Patty and find out we need a belt and this is an actual mower that we can use. And I'm sure that would be approved. I don't think that would be denied at that point after July 1.
Well, I hate to see a piece of equipment set over a belt.
Right. Well,
same thing that the school bus set, fellas couldn't order oil.
Yeah. So,
Miss
I
Seacrest.
can get into it.
Miss Seacrest and I were working on purchase orders today and trying to get some things on the books, so to speak. So if we regularly spend a certain amount of money at a business location, to try to accrue some of that money to rather than kind of nickel and diming and doing a sheet for every little thing when we got to run out there. So I think there's a plan. We've tried to improve our process on that to say for the upcoming year, whether it's $500 at this business, we're going to set aside that and have that money available so that we can spend that down as we work through. Because like you said, a belt shouldn't be we should be able to do that.
Well, he told me that he was told to make up a list of stuff that he needed. And he did. Since he's sitting in Lance, well, he ain't heard nothing. He said he can't.
Maybe you and I can speak afterwards so we can just find out who that is and what that list looks like, because I'd be more than happy to try and assist with that.
This is probably gone.
Well, but if he still has it, and I want to work through it, and we both, all of us want to make sure folks have what they need to do the job that they've been asked to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions about the COVID grant spending update? Okay, from knowing from that, and we'll get to it in 1 second, but just, it's on my mind now, so I ask the pleasure of the board, since we asked this question. Purchase orders over 10,000, since we usually ask what funds that comes out of, do you want that part of the document that's presented to us? Because we ask that each time.
Is that a
That's
reasonable
possible. I
request?
mean, I have it all written down on my paper, so,
It's just
if
not-
you want it added to your sheet instead of me telling you, that's fine. For instance, tonight, it is a very long list
Yes.
of POs to get us started for July 1. So, but I do have, I mean, I write it
It makes
down
sense,
every time.
especially nowadays.
Yeah,
with all
because
these different
whether
funds.
it tell us if it's local, what federal funds that it's coming out of, what grant. Because we always ask that. We have for almost every one now, so.
The list tonight goes with our renewals and for a lot of our subscriptions and different things with new money.
And sorry, that was just on my head, and I better ask it now. So, if moving forward, if you can add that column back into there, so the board has that. Okay, moving on to the next claims for payment, Ms. Sechrist.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. You have been provided with the claim certification where the operating fund was $286,537.57. Food service, $12,363.44. Total expenditures, $299,174.01. Along with that, you were provided with the list of claims as well as a check register, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have.
Board have any questions? Okay. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to make a motion that we approve the claims for payment as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Gugler.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes. Purchase orders over 10,000, Ms. Sechrist.
Yes, board, again, you can see there, again, we do have quite a few purchase orders for your approval this evening. The first one being the Promethean panels. I will say that covers all of what is labeled as smart boards in the 10-year CIP plan. And that is out of the SR2 funds is where that money would come from. The rest of these, as Mr. Vincent has already spoke to, are most of our renewals, insurances, workers' comp, subscriptions, things that begin July 1 for the FY22 year. And the rest of these all come out of local funds, different lines, technology, various special ed. But the rest of those are all our local budgeted funds that are in the FY22.
Everything below the 245 Promethean board?
Yes, sir.
So everything below that 910,000 is local funds?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank
That
you.
are obviously budgeted.
And it's in last year's budget, not July 1 budget? Or is it July 1?
It's July 1. These all don't.
Future
take-
purchase.
Yes, sir. These
Okay.
will all be
July.
July 1 purchase orders.
So it comes out of our new budget?
Yes, sir.
That makes
Since we're
sense.
not meeting again until July 22nd.
Yeah.
We need to.
Well,
get
perhaps, but
Yes.
yeah,
So we
okay.
need to get these processed, because most of these subscriptions do start July.
July 1.
Okay.
Okay.
And some of them are new subscriptions. And like I said, we want to be able to do professional development so that the software and different things are utilized.
And then some of them are just our regular things, insurance, workers' comp, copier machine service agreements, that sort of thing, the things we have to just keep the place running.
The 593,000, that's something that goes with the lights, the performance?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
Regular
performance
payment.
contract.
Yes, that's the regular payment. Okay. I'm just looking at the very large ones.
Yes, yes.
Johnson Controls.
Just a
Yes.
question on the governor's school. How many do we have going for next year? You don't have to tell me now. You can find out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Just curious.
Is that on here?
Yeah, at the bottom, center.
Oh, I see
circle.
Governor's School, 33. Okay. Workman's comp, that's something we have to do. Copier rent. Is that for the whole division?
Yes.
How many copiers is that?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
That's all right, you can get it to us later.
Okay.
I'm just curious at that amount, and that's one whole year?
Yes.
Okay. Uh-huh. Right. And that does not include staples, correct? You had to purchase the staples separately?
I believe so. I don't believe we don't. What else?
Yeah, so it's, ink is unlimited copies, but for the staples, you do have to purchase after the ones that come in. Okay. That's been a standard. I have a question. If we're using Schoology, why are we also doing Google Classroom?
It's referring to the borderline security one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It says Family Zone.
Yeah, so that's actually our internet content filtering. It integrates with Google Classroom. It's sort of mislabeled. Google Classroom is free. We always.
That's what I thought.
have it. Yeah. So, but it does integrate with our Google domain to be able to authorize based on our Google accounts.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I was wondering, it's like, okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion for purchases over $10,000?
I make a motion that we approve the purchases over 10,000.
Who was the second? Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, religious exemptions request.
Exemption for 5 students. Parents have filled out, given me all the information that's required, so it will be student A, B, C, D, and E.
And this is just standard.
It's standard.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the religious exemption requests. Because it is more than one, right?
It's 1 student.
I make a motion that we approve the religious exemption request for students A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Okay, who's the sign-in? We're all, okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes. And then we have the wellness policy, EFE, Ms. Jeffries.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am here before you today to see if we can approve our local wellness policy. We did make some modifications based off of the Department of Education's draft policy, as well as VSBA update that was released last time. Dr. Painter and Mr. Gubler both were part of the committee on this modification.
And that's was that done after the last time we've already reviewed it?
We've seen the last meeting, I did add one sentence that was a VSBA update, which just said that we will incorporate and adopt the nutrition standards as found in
Right, you put that in
ABAC.
red.
That is, yes, and so that was in there. So no changes have been
Since
made
then.
since your last board meeting, no, sir.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the wellness policy as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the triennial assessment and wellness policy, EFE, as presented by Ms. Jeffries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Gubler.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Thank you. Just so you know, that will be posted on our nutritional services webpage, along with sent to the Department of Education to show that we have met that June 30 deadline.
Okay, and CEP application update, Ms. Jeffries?
As I mentioned last time, we do have to complete an application for community eligibility provision by June 30th of this year. The Code of Virginia does require us to apply for all 4 of our elementary schools and additionally our 2 middle schools for the upcoming school year. Based off of some additional waivers, there will be no financial burden that would be accrued by the division, and therefore I actually am recommending that we apply for CEP at all 8 of our schools for the upcoming school year.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the CEP application?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the community eligibility provision as presented. Proposal as presented.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Lansdale.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Goodwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you have that ready to press submit?
Yes, sir. I am ready. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Ms. Shepard.
Okay. Number 9, board members discussion time.
I would like straws. I would just like to take this time to congratulate the Page County High School baseball team for a very successful season. Even though the outcome wasn't quite what was hoped for, you hold your head high because of all the work and determination that you put into it. You are winners, regardless of whether you have the state title or not. And especially a recognition of T.R. Shirley. T.R. Williams. Sorry about that. What an inspiration you are to not just people in Page County, but all over the state of Virginia and many other places in the United States as well, for what you have been through, and you never gave up. And again, just to know your determination gives a lot of hope to a lot of people in this world today. So hats off to you and to all your teammates, Coach Comer and all your staff. Again, job well done.
Any other board members? Mr. Payne?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Your turn.
Your turn.
Mr. Payne?
Okay. First off, I guess I want to thank Mr. Benson and Mr. Bell for filling in. We had our superintendent's last day, I think, was the 14th. It was the last meeting here. Then Mr. Moran has resigned since, and it's left a huge hole. And you guys have both filled in there, and I appreciate it as you bridge towards Dr. Fox. Secondly, I think we need to keep in our thoughts and prayers the people of this community. It's another tragedy last Monday for all involved. And it highlights the issue of mental health. And Page County, in a lot of ways, through organizations that's supposed to serve us, have really withdrawn from our county. And in some cases, they've actually built nice administrative buildings some other place. So with that gap, and mental health is important, we're going to probably start something at the rec center. We're working with some volunteers to probably start something on one of the days to provide that people can come in and get right as best they can. And I've known myself to have had times. One time I had a medicine that I was on. I couldn't sleep for 4 months, and man, thoughts that were going through my head were not good. And I got off that medicine and it all went away. So I had to get in a good place too. So everybody goes through those things. Third, I don't know how to do it, but I like for it to be an informational thing, possibly. I had one of my constituents and a former teacher at Page County High School come up to me and ask about the football field at Page County High School being named after Coach Buddy Comer. I don't know how that would work or how that does work, but I like for that to be an information, just so I know if we wanted to do something like that, what does that mean? And Mr. Benson, you could help us with that on the next meeting. I'd appreciate it, because I think it's something we should consider for sure. Lastly, and I want to make sure I get this right. So Major F. Tut is buried back here in the corner. It's a fence. It's grown up. I went back and looked at it. Leaves are everywhere. Vines have grown up over the fence. Trees are overshadowing it. And I want to give a little bit of history, and I hope I do the family justice on that. When the Andrew Jackson School was down there, and I think our county wanted to build another new school somewhere. And I think the state of Virginia stepped in and says, you're not building another new school until you get a school that will take care of the colored population in our county. And what they looked at was a proposal to probably use the back field, which was owned by the Shanks, I think. And then that was tabled, and Major Tutt and his family, Thomas James Tutt and Victoria Elizabeth Tutt, were tenants and owners of the property that this sits on right now. And that was done by eminent domain, which means if y'all know that, that takes your property. My family's had property taken too for the betterment of different places. And I think it's something I like to see requested as an informational next week, our next meeting, of how we can cut some trees back, plant some grass, and honor a person who had property taken and this was established and what we still use. I think it's the right thing to do. And I don't know if there's a cost associated with that. So Mr. Benson, if you could help with that as well, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
I never knew they were great about that.
It is, and it's grown up, and it is something we should honor. People, and I think it would be a good thing to do to honor someone.
Maybe they can get some trustees.
And if we get trustees, however you want to do it, because I think we have family that's in our administration. These folks, and we should honor them.
Dr. Pena, you had something?
Yeah, and I'm going to try to be politically correct and not use what I want to say, but I think it's pretty messed up that Mr. Moran and Dr. Gonzalez did not come to their last school board meeting and left it all on the shoulders of Mr. Benson to carry out everything, and especially at the last meeting when Mr. Moran gave a VSBA policy update on something that the community feels strongly about, and then just kind of left us here to figure it out. And to me, it came across, and I think it came across to the public too, as something that we were doing, when in fact, we're trying to figure it out just like the people that are coming here. I mean, it's evident that people are upset and want input, and I think that we should allow, some type of committee, as they said, if we do want to try to support all the students and follow policy at the same time. So I kind of felt like we were given a raw deal of how that was presented last time, that it didn't accurately portray what was going on. So I'm kind of upset with that too. So that is all I'm gonna say. So Lance and Wendy, if you're out there, thanks. All right, back to you guys.
Anyone else?
I just want to say thanks to those who took the time to come out this evening and share with us. It is important. We do want to hear from you. And we don't always have the answers right away, but we don't take it lightly by any means. So thank you for taking the time and, expressing how you feel. And I'm sure we'll hear from others, and that's good.
To piggyback on that, the board has been in contact with the attorney, so just to make you aware that even though the policies have come to us as informational items, we have not taken any action on any of them. We will be seeking our legal counsel to make sure that we are following not only state law, but federal law, and to make sure that we stay in compliance with that as well, but also be mindful of what our community wishes. So we will be seeking advice from the community as well as from our attorney as we move forward in the transgender arena. The other thing that goes to what was spoke tonight, which took me by surprise, was CRT, which is critical race theory. That has not come before this board. It's not been considered. It's not even been talked about. So therefore, it was a non-issue for us. It's not thrust upon us at this moment that we have to address it, that we have to create curriculum, or nor do we teach it in our schools. So if you're concerned about that and listening, don't be concerned, because it's not being taught, it's not on the agenda, it's not being passed, it's not even being talked about. So just know that if it changes, you'll definitely know, you'll be notified. So I want to make sure anyone who was out there listening for that, you would know that. The other thing is moving on with something that I forgot to get with Mr. Benson to make sure it got put on for a change. I spoke with VSBA for some trainings with the new superintendent as she comes on board. Some of the potential dates for trainings will be July 23rd, July 29, August 24, August 27th, and the 31st of August. And the times would be from 9 to 3-ish or 10 to 3-4-ish. If, and I believe we are, if we're one of the school divisions or localities that is deemed released from the governor's order, then we'll be able to go to Charlottesville and have our training there. Once the dates are locked in and set and we've paid to cancel, we will incur a $1,155 cancellation fee. And if it's the day of, you would not only incur that fee, but you also have to pay for the training. Or if it can be applied to the new training if it's scheduled within 2 weeks. And there is a list of different trainings that we will partake with the new superintendent. She's looking at them. I've talked to Linda about them. I've contacted VSBA about them, and it's just some of them with your new superintendent. So once Dr. Fox comes on board and we have that, we can set those dates up with VSBA.
Just one point, on the 23rd, I've got her scheduled for a meet and greet with parents at our church's fellowship hall.
Okay.
So if that's a date we could avoid, that would be great. It's going to be in the evening.
Okay, I'll take that from the list. Because those 5 dates right now are what they have open.
Okay.
And depending on, there are 4 trainings, so that leaves the other 4 dates that we could do if we wanted to get them in before the end of August.
And if it's something that would be done earlier, we could still get back here, in time. It would be good.
Okay.
On the 23rd, I mean, we're scheduled to do that around 6 or 7 o'clock.
Oh, you would be back probably by then. If we finish in Charlottesville by 3, you would be back by that time.
Yeah.
So technically 23rd is not really off?
Well, I would like to avoid it, but if it can be avoided,
Okay.
as long as we have time to get back.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the board?
Just briefly, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Benson again for working on all those personnel and HR matters, and Mr. Bell. I want to say thank you to Ms. Seacrest for all her good work with the budget closeout. It's a big job. It's super hard to make sure that budget balances at the end of the fiscal year. Ms. Breeden Wallace, I want to say thank you for setting all this up today and for your hard work during this pinch hitting period. So much appreciated.
I'll also echo that. I had to meet with Mr. Benson to set the agenda, which was probably new for him, and I don't think he realized that it could take as long as it did. So he was a trooper in that. So he got a taste of what that's like. But so he had lots of stuff that he shared during the meeting, and it was very productive. So I appreciate his time and effort on that. So and then 2 with Mr. Bell, it's been a whirlwind for him, and I know he's under the gun with some things, but we do appreciate, certainly I do, and I know the board will echo that, appreciate the hard work that he's doing and trying to keep everything going and afloat until Dr. Fox gets here. And just to remind the board that Dr. Fox will be here July 5th. She will be coming in. Dr. Fox knows this. I'll meet her here that morning since no one else will be here. I don't want her to just come to an empty building. So if any of the other board members would like to join at that time, she will be here at 8 o'clock. Staff is not required to be here and is not encouraged to be here. But if the board would like to be here at 8 o'clock as she starts her first day in the division at 8 o'clock, you're more than welcome to join me and welcoming her here, and then go about your day. You don't have to be here. I'll make sure that I'm here to make sure to welcome her and get her started.
Monday,
July 5th.
That all.
So
you get that.
Does she have a key to the building?
I get that all.
That's okay, good.
Okay, and Mr. Benson?
So we did have, just so the board's aware, during the citizen comments period this evening, we did hear some concerns regarding some of the behavior of maybe some staff members on social media. So we will be looking into that.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think it's important that, you as a school board understand that we also heard those, and we'll be happy to report the findings once we kind of do some investigation on that.
Because I believe we have a policy on that. So,
We'll be looking at that.
yeah, so we do have a policy on that, so,
But if there's anybody listening, I think it's important for parents also to know that we heard those concerns and we
will be looking into it.
While, many of us are on social media, if those things don't hit your news feeds or whatever you want to call it, sometimes you don't see those things. Or
Right.
you may not be friends with that individual. So, but we did hear the concern and we'll be looking into that.
Anything else from the board? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Dr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.